the X-Men series on like Fox Kids or whatever.
Depending on which one.
Oh!
All right.
We'll continue this next time we have a technical problem.
That's right. We are now progressing to the sequel, The Land During the Draft, and soon to be The Land After the Draft. Of course, the third movie in the series, always the best one. We'll get there as fast as we can.
This draft's going to be way better than any Marvel movie that was rehashed from a comic.
Any draft you've ever seen. GLuck versus Tempest, our second best of 5, which, of course, may also wind up being 3 games if history does repeat itself. An all-new roster for GLuck, a returning very strong roster for Tempest. Will this look different than our first series of the day?
Well, let's find out. Tempest will take first ban. Remember, they won the coin toss. They will take the first ban, and this gives GLuck the Sky Temple map pick. So it was a surprising pick. We talked about it earlier that it was unusual to see them pick this against Tempest, who's got a good win rate on the map. So the Blaze ban come through here yet again. Some thoughts given. So it looked like it was a PC issue. It's finally resolved. We're in game. The Tracer ban comes through. This leaves open a few picks that have risen up recently. The Genji was going to be the obvious one. I was going to say, though, the Johanna, not great for the map, and also we have seen a lot of Dahaka on this Battleground prioritized first.
Yeah. I always expect Malfurion to be their first pick through ban. We saw that pretty consistently in our last series and all of the previous phase. It's just pretty, I guess, indicative of the way that the meta was, but of course as things change, that can also change here as well.
Yeah. Maizen, formerly Darvish, on camera here. Set to play DPS, you have to expect in this first game. And now with the Genji taken away, yeah, we will just see the tank rotation with Malfurion. Garrosh, rip Garrosh, man, he is
Yeah, what happened to my man? Like, he was, or my orc, as the case may be, he was, super popular, but I guess that's the thing about popularity, you know, it always falls off. Eventually, no one will like your Budechige tweets anymore.
I know. I mean, it's already happening, man. My Budechige tweets aren't as popping as they used to be, but Johanna is, I think she's great because she has a self-cleanse, and that's finally been, in this meta, like, people are like, wait, if there's a bunch of stuns and burst damage coming through, it's pretty cool if you can just walk away with an Iron Skin.
Yeah.
And she has an insanely high health pool. So she's pretty strong. She can blind. She can change the setup of a battle with a ranged stun that chains to other stuns. Like, she's always been a fantastic tank. It's just been recently that people have been able to utilize her better.
Yeah, in previous metas used to run a bunch of supports that could run cleanses as well, but now that's, I guess, not as common.
Yeah, it's less common now. So here's the Dahaka. We knew that Dahaka would be prioritized by Tempest because of the Blaze ban. You don't just ban Blaze early in a draft because you think he's OP. You ban him because you have a plan to not only either maybe then build into burst damage that Blaze can no longer counter, or you're looking to control the macro aspect. And with Blaze gone, Dahaka can do a lot better in the soul lane. There's a few bad matchups for him left, but the less meta. Now with Malfurion and Johanna, the Sonya pick is less... it's less appealing. The Malthael is really, I mean, honestly, just quite frankly, a bad choice given what we've seen so far. You don't know what the main front line is going to be for Tempest. It's a tough ban here. Usually when you have a set of one of these 3 things missing, a damage, a tank, and a healer, when you have something missing there, you can make an educated ban to remove tiers or remove comfort picks, but when you have all 3, it becomes difficult for GLuck now to say, where are they trying to take this draft? Where are they trying to take their frontliners? It's unfortunate, too, because right after they ban, Tempest gets a ban, they have to make the next reveal before Tempest has a chance to then react. So,
right.
The Muradin ban is strong for the Battleground in terms of what escapes he has, but it's just a safe ban. This ban doesn't gain them anything, it just takes a tool away from Tempest.
And we've seen a lot of teams really struggle to kind of change horses in midstream. They go for a first half of the draft, and all of a sudden they're countered in the second half or have one of their key heroes banned away. All of a sudden they kind of have to try to figure out which direction they want to change into, so that can be also a struggle in some situations. Muradin ban, and now I guess it's Tempest's turn to take something off the field, or the battlefield, is the case, battleground. Battlefield? What are we calling it? The location at which they do battle.
Battleground or map are usually the 2 most common terms.
Map.
For
whatever I'm allowed
easier
to use.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That pretty much covers it. Falstad ban.
Okay.
So controlling the global still.
Yep.
With Dahaka being able to top lane soak Wondering now, of course, you know, where Asgard fits into this, because he will be the solo laner for GLuck now. And will, of course, replace Hanaten. So what Asgard plays here into Dahaka is going to be very important, because now they've removed the Blaze. That's the common pick, and that's why you see so much Dahaka Blaze in this meta, because normally bans are drawn towards DPSs. So his matchup into Dahaka, if he tries to get a winning one, it may affect other parts of the draft. I think the Sonya is risky here because you don't have burst heals and you don't have a secondary support, but it can allow him fast night camp clears, can allow him to help control that boss zone and the siege camps.
Right, I guess it depends on whether you want to play for lane or for the overall objectives.
And the overall team fights, right? And that's another thing that's a bit of an issue. So it is going to actually be, he will be playing the ETC. It is going to be solo lane ETC stage dive.
Okay, I mean, that's by far, I think, the less common role to see that in. Although, I guess at least in the games that I've been watching, I haven't seen a whole lot of ETC. So I still don't know exactly what to expect from GLuck, because keep in mind, not only is this, there are new players on the new roster, so always it's going to be, the question is, what does their coordination look like? ETC, of course, even if you go mosh pit, obviously requires a lot of coordination along with that. So, yeah, big question mark.
He played one game of ETC in Open Division. He lost it. So not a lot of history to go on for him either. We will see the Hanzo to fill up this draft. So with the Nubrok, you've got fantastic setup for 7-sided strike. And you have Hanzo for boss clear. It's looking like a solid draft with the globals controlled by Tempest. Sure, ETC becomes a global post 10. But what he offers, that Dahaka, you know, in terms of flanking, it's a global flank. He has even more ability to flank than Dahaka in terms of stage type, because he can choose anywhere on the map, whereas Dahaka's limited to brushes. But he doesn't have the same sustainability that Dahaka has. He doesn't have the ability to isolate a target with an ability literally called isolation that Dahaka has. But I think it's a creative approach to the draft. The problem being that there's counters to this now with the Anub'arak. You can instantly cocoon him, you can knock him up and stun him. And Li Ming will come in as the final pick here. It's not a bad draft for GLuck. It looks really similar to what we saw a lot of at Mid-Season Brawl from North American teams when they could not get the Blaze they were looking for. We saw a lot of stage dive and solo lane ETC. So it'll actually be Asgard playing the Phoenix, though, interestingly enough. So a bit of a role swap from what he was playing in Open Division. Again, we're going to have to learn who's playing what for this squad, because Asgard's switching roles here. Maizen, aka Darvish, as well, swooping back into the pro scene, is going to have to switch up, because he's played solo laner, he's played support, he's played DPS, he's played everything. I mean, there's no role he has not played minus main tank. That's the only role he hasn't played as a professional player. So it will be Asgard on the Phoenix, Overlord on the ETC.
Yeah, and Maizen on that Li Ming. So kind of a brand new way to kind of look at GLuck as a team, and it looks like we are going to have a quick little pause here by lockdown. See if we can resolve this issue maybe a little bit more quickly than the other one.
Yeah,
and
hoping so.
Figure out what exactly is going on.
We've been a little bit unlucky with the pauses in the first week here of HGC Korea, but looks like it's an issue with Lockdown's PC. Very important just to get that fixed right away. Li Ming is an old comfort pick for Maizen that he's played many times to great success in the past, especially on Miracle. So let's see how he plays with it, because his role was oftentimes to either play Tastar for the double support meta for melees, remember the Illidan meta back in the day, or he would play like something like a Li Ming and the occasional Tychus, right? That was where he found the most success in his career, so it's a hero that he's comfortable with. It's weird to see Overlord flexing over to the solo laner and having, because he's normally the mage player, but now that Maizen's taken that role, there's some swaps, right? And having Asgard on DPS. It may end up being that it's solo lane Phoenix with roaming ETC. That would be a huge meta shift. That would be very exciting, but I don't think that's what we're going to see. I think it just is simply going to be Asgard on the Phoenix, and he's going to be playing DPS.
I mean, solo lane Phoenix just sounds kind of, I don't know, squishy, vulnerable, all those reasons that you don't ever see Phoenix solo lane.
He's a crushing, he wins almost every matchup. He crushes Dahaka in the solo lane. He can poke him down, he can chunk him down. But when you start winning it, it is the escape issue, right? And then you have the warp to escape.
That's only so good.
Yeah, it's only so good, and if you really want to be bullying, and that's why you picked him, then you're looking to do damage to the wall. And if you're doing damage to the wall, warp isn't going to save you when they come for you and gank you. So we have seen Soul Lane Phoenix used before in Korea a few times to very limited success, and usually it was on Tomb of the Spider Queen because it's a smaller map, the Soul Lane are less impact, just like we've seen Soul Lane Tastar flexed over a few times and the Soul Lane Junkrat. But yeah, in this case, I think it just simply is going to be a matter of Asgard's playing DPS on this roster now. We'll figure out more about that as we get in. It may be, here's another possibility to think about. It may be Asgard plays Soul Lane Phoenix pre-10, and ETC roams and tries to get kills. Then post-10, ETC swaps up to the Soul Lane, plays the stage dive, yeah. And that's actually probably what we're going to see here. Now that I think about it in that way, this kind of quote-unquote role swap isn't as much of a role swap as it was before.
Well, it's also going to require that there's a very different playstyle pre and post 10. Maybe a little bit of extra assistance there to the solo Phoenix lane, just making sure that when you do, push the lane from bullying and try to damage those walls, that maybe you have some support, somebody rotating up from mid lane, making that a little bit safer.
Just checking in terms of stats, Asgard has not played a single game of Phoenix in 2018, and that means he's never played it ever career-wise because it was not released previous to 2018. I was like, all I have is 2018 stats for him. I don't know about the previous one. Like, oh wait, yeah. In terms of Phoenix, there was no pre-2018, so yeah, he's not played a professional game of Phoenix just yet. This will be his first time, and we'll see how it pans out in execution. Phoenix is a hero that, in my opinion, is fairly simple to play. He's a hero that, if you're going to be playing him as a pseudo soul laner and you're not going to be a high impact Phoenix player, then as long as you play safe, you're going to do great. But you're still somewhat limited. Like, I don't feel like Asgard's on this Phoenix like, oh, he's never played before, he's going to die a lot. I don't feel that way, but I wonder how much can he push the attack? Like, how much damage is he going to be able to safely get, because he doesn't know the subtleties necessarily of what it means to play that in a professional game against a team that has been world champions.
That is true. When you end your sentence that way, it kind of puts this all in perspective. This is a team that has been world champions versus a team that has never been up in the upper half of the standings in HGC Korea.
Very true. Well, we'll be ETC heading straight to the soul lane, so the theory about maybe the ETC pressure in the bot lane while Phoenix solos just ends up being just that, a theory. Not actually a reality.
It would have been a cool idea, but as is, yeah, we're just going to see the ETC up there.
Look at this by Sign, by the way. He avoids almost all damage, gives him a free clear on this wave just by preventing the mounts there and slowing them down. So they actually have a rotational advantage right now. They're one wave ahead in experience, and they could just keep rotating 4-man like this, threaten the Phoenix. Super cool play. Look, he's going to do it again. Stopping the rotation. Love this.
So this is really cool, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that says, well, can that really make that big of a difference? It's only just a few seconds slower on the rotation. Is that really something that they'll be able to get a benefit out of?
I mean, look at it. You can see it already. Hanzo's getting benefit. They're getting a camp. They're starting the siege camp first, and because they have a Nubrak, they can invade now. They will invade probably the siege camp to look for a double. Actually, in fact, GLuck knows this. They're going to rotate over and take Night Camp instead. The trade-off here is that now they're going to lose the bottom wall. Like, this is... The impact that Sign made in this early game with the Unubarak is already seen. It's phenomenal to see how much he's able to do just by shutting down mounts, shutting down rotations. And, GLuck has to respect it. If they try to challenge him, they could end up losing the fight. So that's why we saw the danger pings there where they knew where he was. It wasn't like they were clueless about this. They just had to respect it. And Tempest came in with a solid plan. They've got this wall down now in bot, which we're going to take a look at in just a second. As yes, Knights will die.
Yeah, and if they want to, they can even make a faster trip. Okay, yeah, there's a Nubarak. Faster trip up to the middle lane will get the shove there, and there's really nothing to contest that at all.
And normally, if you can get the wall down here very quickly, getting the Nightcap burst works well. Otherwise, you just give an advantage in clear because the cannon towers will help out. They get one cannon tower down with this push, but the cannon tower basically makes it easier to clear this. And now Tempest can push with theirs at a better timing. You can see the push that in mid you were talking about earlier is now being cleaned up by GLuck, so they're just, again, just one small step behind. But that bottom wall that Hanzo's now also putting pressure onto is going to be important because that leads into getting the bottom well. If you get the well before the bottom temple, which is the second temple phase, then you're in a really good spot.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go back to and try to top up before you come back into fighting for a very important objective. Of course, I mean, that is the main characteristic of Sky Temple.
Here's that invade.
Yeah, it's another one of those maps where you can't win by turtling because you'll just lose your base anyway.
Very, very good point. You know, you simply... Your health on your core is actually how many structures you have. It extends all the way to the forts and the fort walls.
Yep.
Very, very true. You know, you do reach a point of lethality, you know, to put it in perhaps Hearthstone terms, where you just simply have to fight or you die. And we saw this at the Mid-Season Brawl Finals in Game 7, you know, it's even at the highest level of play worldwide, like this map just is played out that way. So they're going to trade temples so they have the lead on the first temple, but rather than trying to invade and trying to get like 1.2 temples, they're actually just going to physically attack where the temple is already firing at to try to get a fort advantage for 10. Level 10 advantage is so huge for Tempest because they have the Hanzo comp. With the Nubrok, they can look for an early boss. So getting that fort down would just push them closer to what they're looking for. They didn't get it, but they may be able to get it in a follow-up attack momentarily.
No, but that's a good point because some teams can compensate, try to go for taking away a temple that the team is already on to try to get that like 1.2 temple, like you said. So that's not the decision that they make. I always love watching the top few teams in HGC just because it's so impressive to see just the little ways that they get those tiny edges. And a lot of it's from decision making, like that one right there, not to go for the contest.
I mean, the contest would have taken so long that they probably would have lost even more time on the temple, and what damage they did to that mid-fort is actually more significant than invading because they were doing the same amount of damage the temple would have done, and the temple would have been doing damage to the top fort wall, which doesn't give them the experience they're looking for to take a lead here in 10. They didn't get the fort, which actually comes back to bite them. They're actually significantly behind in experience here in the race to 10, which means they can't go for that boss timing they were hoping to grab. But look at this flank here with Sign, looking for Overlord here in the mid lane. Asgard gets away with the warp. Since this fort is still up, Overlord should be able to get away, although he gets stunned.
I mean, they're really committing to that, pulling him right back in. Dami, the very long tongue to drag him back in and give Tempest their first kill of the game. The first kill of the game.
They get out, they grab the bottom wall as well there, so I mean, completely removing some of the vision here for GLuck and some of the escapability for the mid lane to get behind that wall and run away. So they're going to have 10 first because they got that fort, they got that pick. And this means that, you know, HGC's availability to use Stage Dive is not there. He's having to walk through mid and minions, so he shows himself. Tempest knows they can take this boss. This is the timing they were looking for, where they were looking for that fort. This is exactly what I was talking about. They get the fort, they get the 10. 7-sided locked in here with X-Strike. It's the comp you expect to see. It's the scatter arrow build for boss clear timing, which came into effect here. And Tempest is playing this map textbook, which again begs the question, why did GLuck pick this map when Tempest is so well versed on it?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of the logic behind the map drafting phase is you want to limit the ability for solid, experienced teams to play on maps that they are so solid and experienced on. So this is one of them, not limited. You can see the Tempest are kind of just running away with this, not only objective-wise, but also when it comes to fighting straight up. They have the boss, they're on that keep, they're just, or on the board, they're just pulling back, letting it take it down itself.
There was a little bit of a botch for the engage for Tempest. They tried to use the Dragon's Arrow to look for a fight there, and we saw Dahako burrow down, and GLuck actually reacted immediately. We had the stage dive down, so really good defensive engage for GLuck. They cleared the boss and limited the potential for damage for Tempest. Now they're going to try and retake this temple. 7-sided though onto Roxor alone. He's body blocked down. He's going to go down. X-Strike going to blow him up. Silence though, making it a trade.
Yeah, a big disintegrate for that backline. So actually a nice amount of damage traded right back. And so some signs of life from GLuck saying, hey, we're not just going to roll over. You can't just dive in and try to kill anyone you want.
Yeah, that was really well played by GLuck, actually. They saw the mistakes of Tempest there. They knew they had more health. Despite the fact their fort was down, they just won the trade there. So they were able, and they knew brush stock had been used, so they were able to kind of collapse in there and take the fight at the last shots. They're still behind in this game, but it's, you know, it's baby steps to get back in. Stage dive's back available now, so ETC will go back to his solo laning. It won't be Asgard up there anymore. It'll be Overlord in this case. As we do see camps taken across the map. Tempest is going to have 13 with that 2-fort lead they have right now. It's pretty inevitable that they have an experienced lead. There's not really a whole lot of objectives they can push for right now with all forts down, though. It's too greedy, it's too risky. So realistically, they're just going to try to make sure they don't fall behind in experience right now and wait for the next objective. You know, there's no way they can prevent GLuck from getting 13, minus a mistake in terms of rotation for GLuck, but notice they're all grouped up because GLuck also knows, hey, just we gotta look for 13, we gotta look for the next objective. Tempest is not going to try to. There's no advantage Tempest can get unless they team fight us, so let's just make sure that that cannot happen.
Yeah, but I mean, for GLuck, it has to feel like an eternity away from getting 13. And I don't think Tempest is really going to give them too much of an opportunity to just kind of sit back and hang tight until they can hit that. So you can see it immediately, Tempest group up mid, now they're grouping up top. And this is kind of an interesting decision to me, so maybe you can shed some light onto that.
Sure.
You saw Dami up there, and he's split pushing, or I guess if you want to look at it that way, he has that semi-global from his brush stock. So then why do they just rush up there and join him?
They joined him because they knew that everyone was grouped for GLuck at the top of the map as 5. That's why they split Genji, and I think it was actually Hanzo who was soaking, so they got soak in all 3 lanes. They knew everyone for GLuck was grouped, so they just pushed all the lanes out to get vision, but they thought Dahaka would be the most likely target that GLuck would collapse on, so they just wanted to be up there. They knew that everyone had just recently cleared the night camp. They needed to push up and deal with that night camp, which is tougher for Dahaka to do alone, so they just want to make sure he was a little bit safer up there, is really, I think, the reason why that happened that way. So sure, they lost value on the global, but they made sure that he was safer while they were still soaking 2 other lanes that GLuck was not getting soaked for while they were grouped up.
And so the temple spawns is regular through the first 4 cycles,
That's right.
So it kind of surprises me that Tempest were able to run all the way top lane and then still get temples on both sides of the map.
Yeah, they knew the spawn, right? And it's also shown in-game, but I mean, these are pro gamers, they've been doing this forever. And the temple rotation hasn't changed since they removed triple temples. That was a long time ago.
God.
Thankfully, they removed that. So they rotated faster. GLuck came down, but they lost basically a temple and a half. Like, GLuck was only able to get a little bit of shots done there. So Tempest just continues to maintain experience advantage, and we were talking about how the temples is just kind of a... Well, hold that thought. We're going to see it. Commitment here to Overlord. He's dead.
Ooh, that only took about 4 of the 7 sides of that strike, but
he couldn't stage dive. He was stunned. So, you know, things happen. But yeah, I mean, they just are doing as you say, like, because the objective just wins you the game. You can't turtle. Tempest is just making sure all the lanes are pushed. They always have vision advantage. They're always utilizing vision advantage to make sure they maintain soak, maintain a talent tier advantage. They're playing very safe, very systematically. Nothing against GLuck, they're dealing with this as best as they can, but it's just a tough situation to fight back on.
And oh no, it might just be going from bad to worse here. The rocks are getting caught out, lockdown going in, and that is going to be yet another kill. Lockdown taking that one, getting the reset, forcing a warp away, and there's just nowhere that is safe for GLuck to be on the map.
Now the boss is respawned with the Hanzo composition here, and Karazim. This boss does not last long. Dami rotating down here for safety, and sure, Overlord's getting soaked in the top lane, but look at Genji already prepping the waves here to make sure the boss goes straight to the keep wall with minion support. Dahaka pushes out the mid wave, so there's nowhere that's safe minus the top lane, and sure, ETC could use stage dive to try to look for a flank engage, but while the boss is pushing, it's not going to be the opportunity he's looking for. If he stage dives in, it's probably going to be into the base. In fact, he wants to hold it. He's going to mount up and walk down. You can see that on the mini-map. So as ETC rotates down, they need to be careful of potential flanks. Knows Hyde is looking for flanks himself. They just want this keep and then to escape. If they get kills, they can look for game here, but it's not absolutely their objective.
Yeah, if GLuck loses anything, any signs of weakness, then they can certainly lose the game right here. But they are trying for an engage right now. Lockdown, though, going way deep to force the Cyber Agility away and try to go back in for round 2. Disintegrate tries to find him over the wall, but he manages to stay alive. And glad that Tempest is kind of playing this very carefully, not willing to overcommit.
Yeah, they get the keep. That was their main objective. They have, because the boss has to be dealt with still by GLuck, they actually get the opportunity to rush the temples first. Now look at Dahaka in mid, he's going to clear that wave one more time, and then he's probably just going to head top, where the wave is free experience for them to get 20. So sometimes when you have a global like the ETC and you push top so much, you actually just give free soak to Tempest. So Tempest can actually just go get that top totally free of charge, can threaten this and delay while Karazim is actually pushing bottom. So it kept Dahaka here, it was not him who actually went top because he kept out and couldn't get there quickly. And the second things go badly, they leave. So they delay this temple, getting full temple shots bottom, get free soak in the top lane because of that push from Overlord, and now they're level 19, they're 3 levels up straight up. Because that push that ETC had to go for top just gave them so much free soak, you know, and that's how lanes work in every MOBA. Sometimes when you go for that push, there's a trade-off because you're giving safer experience to Tempest.
And because Tempest has had all of their lanes shoved this entire time, they can afford to give up a little bit of temple time. It's not like they don't have objectives left. And so, oh no, you know, they're going to lose some of their outer structures. They don't really care because they are so far ahead, never guarded. Oh my god, didn't even need the X-Strike. A huge blow up there on Phoenix. Li Ming going down there as well. What a travesty, and this is just going to be a total, well, almost total wipe.
I mean, it will be. As soon as we see Roxor come out, he dies, and, you know, KCB panicked in that moment. He thought he was going to be the target of the X-Strike, so he ice blocked early, which meant that as soon as Phoenix was dead, his ice block was also already used, so he died right afterwards, and, you know, was unable to use his Twilight Dream. He wanted to use the ice block when he thought that he was the collapse target. He wanted to ice block and then Twilight Dream to turn the fight, but it wasn't him, it was Phoenix. That's going to cost them this last fight. The game goes with it. Tempest with a massive lead throughout. This is the last fight they take that wins them the game. Good macro control.